Welcome aboard! We will be your guides during this magical journey into the movies. It's the perfect job for us because we love the movies. It's showtime! Ready when you are, CB!
Action!
Welcome to a very special episode of Monoreel Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are joined once again by our very good friend, Disney veteran Randy Cartwright. Randy, it's been a few years. Welcome back to Monoreel Radio.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
We are really excited to have you back on the show and to talk specifically about Brave Little Toaster. We talked about it recently and sort of what the film has meant to us in our lives. And it's such an interesting story because you had mentioned with us the last time that you were on that you had gone out to Asia. If I remember correctly, you were living in Japan at one point, working on a project, and then you moved, it was to Taiwan to work on Toaster.
Yes, yeah. I left Disney for a little while. Black Cauldron was starting up, and it was getting pretty dreary there. And I had an opportunity to go live in Japan for a few years to work on Little Nemo and Slumberland, and it was just too great an opportunity to pass up the fact that I could live in Japan for a while. So I did that, and when that was done, I came back to the U.S. With my wife. I met her there, and we married in Japan. And I really loved Asia, and I didn't want to I wanted to go back somewhere. And right at that time, Jerry Reese was starting up directing The Brave Little Toaster, which was going to be made in Taiwan. So I hooked up with him and went there and knew that it would be a short stint, but to live in Taiwan. And my wife, Junko, was fine with that. She learned a little Chinese language in school, so she knew a little bit of English and a little bit of Chinese, and of course a lot of Japanese because she was Japanese. So we joined up and stay. I think I worked for a few weeks here in the States, and then we packed up and moved to Taiwan.
So the reason that we have come a-calling again is because we recently reviewed Brave Little Toaster on the show. I had a big birthday at the beginning of the month, and it was my gift to myself to program our slate of episodes and pick some of my favorites. And this immediately came to mind. We've talked about it ad nauseum on the show, how we're Disney Renaissance kids. Little Mermaid was the first film that I saw in a movie theater, and that was always a big influence for me. Just getting into film and studying animation. But this was really the one that did it because as I recalled, I had it taped off the television because this was so hard to find. And I wore that thing out. I watched it all the time. I absolutely fell in love with animation because of this movie. So we were so excited that you wanted to come back on the show because I just can't wait to learn more about one of my all-time favorite films. And it was such an experience watching it again as an adult because it was so hard to find for a time. And there was a gap between when I had seen it. And funnily enough, when we reviewed the show the film at the beginning of May, it wasn't on Disney Plus yet. And then in the interim of scheduling this interview with you, we were shocked when it dropped. So we're very excited to learn more about how that came about, if you know anything about it.
Yeah, well, it was all the story was done here in the States. Jerry had worked at Disney for a while, and of course, Joe Ramp was the head story guy, and he was a fantastic story and was one of the founders of Pixar later on, and one of the main story forces for Pixar. But unfortunately died, was in an accident in 2004, I think 5, somewhere around there. Anyway, but he was there. So basically it was people that had a Disney experience. A lot of others were on it too. But people that had kind of gone a little sour with the management at Disney. And so we were all kind of got together with a lot of really good talent. Some of the people worked at Disney later that had not worked there before. A lot of CalArts talent was there, but it was kind of exciting. You had, because you didn't have all the management supervision and things going on where all the managers trying to take it over. It was just a bunch of creative people trying to make a creative movie the best we can. And it wasn't great pay. It didn't pay nearly as much as the other things, but we didn't care. We were going to try to make the best movie we can with the best talent we had and see what comes up.
It's
Uh,
it's almost like, and I promise this isn't the case, it's almost like Randy saw the questions ahead of time. He hasn't. He's getting
That was
everything.
about 3 questions worth of answers. Yeah.
But okay, so let's talk about this for a second, because you said the pay wasn't so great. How much of a factor budgetary did all of this play when it came to moving the production into Asia? I guess the question is, how did it end up being animated there?
I don't know all the details of what really happened, but I know it started at Disney. Actually, it started with John Lasseter. John Lasseter brought it into Disney feature animation because he thought he wanted to get into computer animation at the time. Computers animation was very crude at the time, but he thought that a story about mechanical objects, that's something that we might be able to do in computers at the time with the technology. So he was really pushing the story of Brave Little Toaster, and Joe Ranft was actually working with him, and they worked up some whole presentations. I remember seeing a presentation at Disney feature of that, but it was not liked by the management. The management did not like the film at all, did not like the idea. After a while, they closed it down, and John Lasseter was fired, and he went somewhere else to become someone else. But that's another story. But
Wow.
yeah, so the story was there, and then I think I heard that someone, when Jeffrey Katzenberg and Eisner came in, it was one of the pictures that was there but had not been. It was dormant. Nobody wanted to do it. Katzenberg didn't like it. But I heard that one guy in Disney TV animation decided, hey, let's make this. And he started to do it even without the approval of the upper management. And I heard, so he signed some contracts with the company in Taiwan to do it. They were going to do it very cheaply there. The Taiwan company, Cuckoo's Nest, had been doing Hanna-Barbera TV shows. And the head of the studio, James Wong, wanted to increase the ability of his staff. And so he thought doing a feature with Disney would be a great way to have his staff trained. And so he was willing to put in a lot of money himself and make it so it'd be very cheap for Disney to do it there because he would get the training for his staff. And so that deal was made. I heard the TV executive was soon fired after that because they hated it. I heard Katzenberg hated the idea, but they had the contract, so now they had to go through with it. So it was kind of a Disney picture, but didn't really have much approval. I don't really know exactly how Jerry got involved, Jerry Reese. And Brian McEntee was the art director for it, and the other people, Joe Ranft. Though I know Jerry Reese, after he left with Disney, he left from Disney with Brad Bird, and they were going to do trying to get money for a movie called The Spirit, which was a 1940s comic book character, kind of superhero who was not like Batman, didn't have any special powers, but he was kind of a detective that was extremely capable. And anyway, it was a picture. He got Gary Kurtz, who was the producer of the original 2 Star Wars movies, to try to find money for him, and they were going to work on that, but it fell through. They never got the money for it, and Jerry then got into this afterwards. Everyone had a lot of respect for Jerry. Everybody I know still do. He's a tremendous talent. And so when he got this thing going, somehow he was hired by Disney to direct this movie. He got Joe Ranft involved and the other people to develop the movie. And when I got on, the story was pretty much done. They were getting ready to move into animation, which was done in Taiwan. So the part I know is once the story was worked out, I'm sure they have a lot of stories about story development of that, because it's a very, strange story and strange elements in it, and how they got the music, the composer, and all the voices and all that I was not part of, so I can't really tell you a lot about that. But I can tell you about when we moved to Taiwan and actually started the production of it.
So there's sort of been a long history, at least it's fairly well documented, that there was, at least early on, a butting of the heads between the animators and Jeffrey Katzenberg, right? You mentioned him just now. So did you and the other animators feel that you could do some of your best work when he was removed from this project, that you could really kind of spread your wings and show what you wanted to do artistically?
Well, at this time, I had never worked with Jeffrey. When Jeffrey and Katzenberg and Eisner came into the studio, I was in Japan. So I was not there when they moved everyone out of the animation studio and were thinking about closing down animation. In fact, I was read about it in the news while I was in Japan and thought, "Phew, boy, I got out of there just in time." But so when I came back, like I said, my main thing was I wanted to go back to Asia. I wanted to experience living in Asia some more. I was not done with that. And Disney still hadn't got everything together. They were still kind of trying to build their department back with Jeffrey in charge of it. But I had not worked with him. I didn't really have any real opinions of who he was or what he was doing, because I hadn't worked there. For me, it was just a chance to go back to Asia and work with some people that I really respected.
So were you able to attend Sundance when it showed there, or were you still over in Asia?
No, I was. I mean, when Toaster showed there.
Yeah.
No, I was back. I was back at Disney at that time.
Okay. All right.
Right there.
Do you remember hearing any sort of buzz about how well received it had been at the festival or anything like that?
No, I was not really very in touch with that stuff at the time. Once I did it, I remember it. We saw, I think, the staff screening. And then I didn't hear a lot more about it.
Got it. There's been some discussion previously, it could be true, it could be false, that Disney sort of hurt the run theatrically for Toaster because they slid up the TV date and they slid up the home video release. Knowing that Disney had suffered some losses at the box office with some smaller studios, do you think that they felt that perhaps what you had put together would have been a threat to them, and were they sort of trying to protect their image and not suffer another defeat?
Yeah, I think it was kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like Iron Giant, which was a great movie, but a new management came in to Warner Brothers right about when it was finishing, and they didn't want a movie that the previous management had produced to be a success. So they deliberately kind of killed the movie so that people couldn't say the previous management did a better job than you did, because their movie was a success. So that's why Iron Giant was killed. And probably it had something to do with that kind of thinking also. They didn't want Toaster to be a big success because it was not something that had been approved by the management. It just kind of got through somehow, but they didn't want to support it.
When Toaster did see some considerable success, because it did well on VHS in its home video release, and it did pretty well when it finally got in front of people on television, was there a sense of vindication for you as artists that it was being well received?
Yeah, when I started to hear that people really liked it, I was, really pleased. At the time, I was thinking, when we were working on it, well, this is really strange, but it's really cool. It's something you haven't seen before. And I love the fact that it's done with a lot of talent, not a lot of money. That was the key that made it. A lot of people that were really talented worked really hard to make this work the best we can, and it was not done for money. So I was really glad to see that people enjoyed what we had done, and I always liked it, thought it was so quirky and weird that I love stuff like that. You don't see too much of it nowadays.
How do you feel about it finally making its way to Disney Plus?
Well, that's great. Probably should have been here quite a while ago. Yeah, no,
Agreed.
I want to take a look at it. Actually, someone mentioned that though the picture quality hasn't been rescanned to like the top quality picture quality you get nowadays. It has an older scan, and so the Disney Plus quality is still not quite as good as it could be. But I don't know about that. I haven't seen it yet, so.
I can't wait to watch it on Disney Plus for myself, because when we did it for the show, we found it on YouTube. So I'm sure it's significantly better than the YouTube stream.
Mhm.
Getting into story a little bit, and I know this might have happened before you were brought on. Do you know anything about the choice to adapt the novella? And have you read the novella that this was based on?
No, I haven't read it. And
Okay.
there was the original version that John Lasseter and Joe Ramp developed, I know was done from the novella. Jerry said that, even though I worked with Joe, they didn't use any reference to that at all. They did a completely new, fresh version. It's Jerry's version. It's not John Lasseter's version. And Joe Ramp worked on both. So it is Joe Ramp's version, whatever. But yeah, so I don't really know a lot about that, but it's I don't know how close it is to the original book or not, though I have a feeling it's probably not very close because so much of it is visual.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you know anything about the choices that were made to change the illustration, or is that something, because the cover art is the only picture that I've seen of what these characters look like. Was that something that was shown to you as animators, or this was entirely your own concepts in designing the characters?
Well, the characters were basically designed at the time I came on, so I was not involved in the original designing of them. They had a lot of model sheets already worked up as to what the characters would look like. We had to figure out, how they would move exactly. But the actual designs were pretty much set by the time I came on.
And you were a directing animator on this, correct?
Yes.
How is that different than some of the other work that you did as a Disney animator?
Well, part of that is you're working with other animators and you're kind of supervising their work. Some of them were Taiwanese animators. They didn't speak English. We had to use a translator. But they were used to like Hanna-Barbera type animation. I had to work with them and help them to develop and learn how to do full quality feature animation. And then some of the newer CalArts animators that were there too. I could look at their work and give them advice and notes on how to do things. It's kind of what supervising animator does, is kind of just a more experienced person who gives some advice to other animators and can help improve their work a little bit.
You sort of hit on this talking about how different the film is from the novella. This is tonally darker than anything Disney has ever done, in my opinion, at least. Do you know if there was anything that was cut where they were like, nah, this is too dark, we can't hit on that?
No, I don't remember anything like that. There may have been in earlier stages, something like that. But while I was on it, no, it was pretty much what was there. So
you talked about John Lasseter earlier, and he wanted to do the computer animation, and he wanted to bring that to Disney much earlier than, they got involved with Pixar. So I guess when you compare this to what later becomes Toy Story, right? How much of what we saw in Toy Story down the line sort of borrowed from what you were able to accomplish here?
I don't remember a lot borrowed from it, though I do know. I mean, Toy Story basically came from toys. John Lasseter, his first job when he graduated from CalArts and came to Disney was as my assistant on Fox and Hound. And while he was there in the room next to me, he started collecting some little toys and putting them up on his shelf. And that was the actual beginnings of Toy Story at the time. Were these little mechanical toys and some Japanese video game toys they had at the time and some other things. He would put them on the shelf. He had a little handful of them, and by the time he left, and later on it grew to this huge collection that filled his whole room. But yeah, that was kind of the start of Toy Story. The only thing that has in common with the toaster is the fact that they are mechanical objects that he was working with. He was kind of fascinated with that. Even his original CalArts test was the lamp, basically. He did a thing. It was an old man. The old man, though, was in his test was animated by Mike Giamo, who became an art director later on, and still featured today. But John Lasseter animated the lamp itself. It's a story about a lamp. That was his early CalArts test before he started working at Disney.
Specifically, shifting gears and talking about performances here, because it's a really talented voice cast. Did you know who the cast was, who they were going in, and did you know stylistically what they were going for? Like, you know, how Phil Hartman sort of does a Jack Nicklaus with the air conditioner, and then he has the Vincent Price lamp.
Basically, no, I didn't know who any of them were at the time. They were all pretty new too. I mean, none of them have really made a big name up for themselves. We would just get the recordings of the voices and with the storyboard, what they're supposed to do. And just like with any animation, you sit there and you listen to the voice and kind of act it out. You kind of move around, figure out what you would do if you were that voice, saying that, meaning, feeling whatever the character is feeling. What would you do? You work out the acting for it. You're not really relating to the person who did the voice. You're relating to the voice itself and let it become the character.
I want to talk about the music a little bit. I know that you said you weren't really involved with the composer or the lyricist, but did you hear the songs before you started animating, or was that something that came on a little bit later into the process?
Yeah, well, as you're, if you're going to be working on the song, yeah, you get a tape of the song, you listen to them, and it's just something that you get as you're coming along. You just hear them as you get an assignment for them. I remember actually when I was on Lion King, when I heard the first demo version of the Circle of Life. It was Elton John's original version with him on the piano, and everybody thought it was terrible. It was an awful song. Yeah, it just kind of boring and nothing to it at all. It didn't have any of the African quality. It was just Elton John singing this song. And we're thinking, oh boy, this is going to be a bomb. Then once they got the chorus going in, the African tone and the rhythms and everything, it became a magical thing. Nobody had seen that ahead of time, though. So yeah, you don't really know. You work with the songs you're given. You usually sometimes you're given the demo song to start working with. Sometimes you're given the finished recording. Depends on how production is going.
I guess that's more about what I'm wondering, because that was something that struck me so much watching it as an adult now, was how deep the songs are and the messaging. To me, the music is so much more for adults than it is for kids. So I was wondering, like, if that impacted the style in any way, like not just within the musical numbers, but like if there was something that informed character or story, because the songs are a little bit darker.
Like I say, you just get the material and you try to work with it to whatever the material seems to require to you. That's what you do. Now, as to how they develop the songs and the tones, that I wasn't involved with. Once again, that would be something you'd hear from someone that was involved in that earlier on.
Do you have a favorite musical number from this film?
Yeah, actually, I think I kind of like it's terrible the modern all the modern what's the song called, the
B-movie.
B-movie, yeah, that one, I kind of like that one.
it's the 80s techno
Yeah,
style song.
the techno song. It's weird.
Feels like
That's a great one,
it feels
too,
like
though.
Talking Heads. I think that's why we all like it so much.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
Um,
characters that appear in that song too, just crazy characters. So
It's great. That's one of the, and I love Worthless too. It's so dark. I don't know what I was thinking as a child, loving that song so much, but
yeah,
it just, even now, it just blows my mind, that whole sequence.
yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to mention about Brave Little Toaster that we haven't asked you?
Well, working in Taiwan was an experience because, like I say, a lot of the animators didn't speak any English. We had to work with them. And I just want to say one thing about the when we first got there. Joe Ramp's wife was going to take care of everyone's rental fees and paying the electricity and doing all that kind of stuff for everybody. But she injured her back like the first week and was in the hospital and couldn't do it. And so my wife, Junko, had to take over her job and was there to manage all that. The problem was she was dealing with some people that spoke English and other people that spoke Chinese. And she, knew high school English and high school Chinese. She didn't, and she spoke Japanese was her language. And so she was busy translating between these two languages that she didn't really know very well, but somehow managed it. She come out very stressed out at the end of the day, but she was doing all that for us. And so as a result of doing that for us, when a toaster holds up the battery and it says Junko on it, it's actually Junko. That's her name.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
to honor her for taking on the job of managing that for us.
Oh, that's so great.
The battery is named after my wife, Junko.
That's great.
Uh,
That's what a wonderful, wonderful tribute for her.
That means even more now to have it on Disney Plus and
Mm.
have it so widely accessible that more people are going to see that now. That's wonderful.
Yes, I want people to know about that for her.
We're going to let as many people know that as we can. And we also think it's important that we congratulate you on your retirement. We congratulate you on a fantastic career. And I typically try not to speak on behalf of too many people because more times than not, people don't agree with me anyway. But I think the thing that we can all agree on is your contributions to some of our most beloved films, whether they be Disney or not, because you did work, with different studios. Your work and the work of your colleagues had a profound effect on all of our lives, on our childhood, and I will freely speak on behalf of everybody where I say thank you and I congratulate you on a fantastic career, and you have earned your retirement.
Wow, thank you. Thank you very much. That's very gratifying to hear. It's nice to know you've done something that people can appreciate. Yeah, actually, I am working on a memoir about everything. Actually, I've finished it. I have to find an agent and all that stuff to start doing it. But you can hear about the very, very early days of the training program from that, what it was like when we first started. And it's a lot of interesting little, I think, stories that I don't think people have heard before. I hopefully to be able to publish at some point in the future.
Well, as soon as it's published, we will be pre-ordering. I can't wait to learn more about your outstanding career. And no, I completely agree with Sean. Your work has had an impact on so many. And on a personal note, as much as we try to keep it professional on Monoreel Radio, and I try not to fangirl too much, truly, the Disney Renaissance had so much of an impact on people our age, but really it was Pete's Dragon and Brave Little Toaster for me. So I thank you for your work. You brought so much joy to my childhood, truly.
Great, thank you. It had a lot of effect on us too.
Thank you again so much for joining us. And when that memoir comes out, I'm sure you're going to be doing a ton of press. You're going to do your media. We would love to extend an invitation to you to come back. We can discuss your memoir. I mean, listen, you can come back anytime you want. You can have the third seat on the show if you want, for all we care. You could just come on the show and just be a part of it. But anytime you want, you have an open invitation to return.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us this and every week on Monoreel Radio. Monoreel Radio will always be free, but there are many ways that you can support the show. Please give us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. Join the conversation on social media at Monoreel Radio on all major platforms. Share your favorite episodes with family and friends who may enjoy them. And of course, book your next trip with Jackie. Links to everything can be found at monoreelradio.com. We all get one story. Make yours a magical one.
On behalf of Monoreel Radio, we'd like to thank you for joining us. We'll see you at the movies, the stuff dreams are made of.